Welcome again to the Never Black and White podcast. If you've been moving with us on this journey, we're learning about the early history of Islam and learning a lot about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and just making sure that we understand each other, where people come from and what their background is. And again, my guest through this journey is Imran. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
It is good to have you here. If you've watched the last two episodes, you will know by now that we get carried away, we get lost in a lot of things, and we'll try and not do that today. But sometimes we just can't help it. The conversation is so great. Now, we had moved as far as the first revelation, Imran, and I think the best place to start might be to how Khadijah responded to this revelation that her husband, I guess, is bringing. So let's kick off from there now. Now walk us through that event. What happened there?
Well, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you again, Tanda. And yeah, we will continue this thing where we left actually. And that was like how the first revelation happened. And as we discussed, Muhammad, peace be upon him, in that time he was more inclined toward the spiritual and the moral corruption of the society.
Yeah.
And then he was inclined toward boosting his spiritual health and seeing things in a different way. And he was more convinced, and in a way he was seeing the signs because his dreams were like coming true. He was relating with the things which were, he was into. Like he was into more spiritual inclination and the things.
Yeah.
So that bring him to the cave of Hira, and then as we discuss this thing in the detail. So the first revelation happened. Angel Jibrail came and delivered the first message, which was the first 5 ayat of Surah Alaq. And that was about to, first command is like read. So here we see the significance of being knowledgeable in Islam.
Yeah.
And the religion which basically begins with the command
Read.
Yeah. So, well, that we will relate in the later history and see how the significant things happen lately. So, but coming back to the first response,
I can't help it, Imran. I have to get carried away with that one because the academic history in Islamic tradition, it is so huge and so deep. Like the scholars they had, the poets they had. It is. We'll probably
as I said, like
talk
in the
about
later
it in the
and
future,
the later history, we can witness this thing, like how initial Islamic civilization is basically played their role to reshape the world.
The world
that
as
time.
we know it.
The world, they know that time and we know this time. And certainly if we connect back with the history, how things being, done by the Muslims in the time. So that is, as I said, like the thing started with the read.
Yeah.
So the guys who really taken this seriously and they acted accordingly.
Yeah.
They were really, would say, they were excellent.
Yeah.
They were not just successful, they were excellent.
They were excellent. People forget that.
Exactly.
Like I often say to my friends, I say, hey guys, don't forget Rumi was not European.
We cannot say in the way because there is one famous saying in Islam, like at that time, it was said, seek the knowledge if you need to go to China. So at that time, like China was sort of a far away, unreachable thing.
Yeah.
So it means the importance of being knowledgeable and educated.
Learning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was translated from the very first message. Okay.
Look at that. We
so
got
now-
carried away so quickly, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay.
Back to it.
Yeah. Back to the first revelation and the first response. So as soon this thing happened, Muhammad, peace be upon him, was like in a state of deep fear because as a human being, we can just imagine like when you are in a solitude, you are in a focus, in a state of, we would say, because in such conditions, we are, I personally believe we are quite fragile to,
Yes.
being, pushed by anything, or we can get emotional, or we can get into sort of emotional trauma suddenly. So, but when this thing happened, Muhammad, peace be upon him, was like, his body was shivering, he was in a state of fear, and he just rushed back to home.
Yeah.
And as soon he entered the home, Khadijah saw him and said, like, what happened? He narrated the whole story, like, okay, this is like. So then the first thing which Khadijah did was like wrap him into a blanket and say, be calm, like, you are a good man. So these were the words which Khadijah said, like, you are an honest man, you are a God-fearing man, you are. So now if we relate this thing back again, how the relationship between Khadijah and Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was, that is the thing which give us the height of trustship, height of compassion and love, height of care. I mean, a person is coming with entirely a different thing, and that time your reaction, your response, your will can break him or make him. And you reacted in a way like, okay, don't worry, Allah will never let you alone. I mean, the God will never let you alone. So that was the point, I would say, significantly Khadijah made it in a way like maybe no one can else. That time was, and then the significance is again like she was the first believer in a way, like, okay. And among all the humans, like, she was the first who believed Muhammad, peace be upon him.
So is it fair to say Khadijah was the first Muslim?
Certainly, I guess. Yeah, you're right. Because that was the one she believed.
Yeah.
And she says, like, okay, I mean, it was not the, we would say, technical stage of Islam.
Yeah.
But spiritually and emotionally, and that word, basically the endorsement which Muhammad, peace be upon him, needs. That was the Khadijah which actually gave him a strength to, carry this thing into into him and like make it, a way forward. So here we would say like the role of Khadijah is paramount. I mean, it's of paramount importance in the life of Muhammad, peace be upon him. Like if we say Abdul Muttalib, bring him to life.
Yes.
Like, when Amina is passed away, so then Abdul Muttalib take care of him and keep him, nourishing. Then Abu Talib shape his personality and make him a businessman, make him a successful and a trustworthy man in the society. And then, the love relationship with Khadijah and the wealth of Khadijah and the kindness of Khadijah. Basically, that is the thing which derive, I personally believe, like Muhammad, peace be upon him, into his spiritual journey, his war against the corruption in the society.
That is very profound, Imran. That
Exactly,
is very
yeah.
profound. So it is as much as God is inspiring or bringing messages to Muhammad, it is also the people around him that are also having this positive influence
Yeah.
into a very negative world he has grown up in, and he's learning to be honest. He's learning. He has learned all of these things, and like you've been saying this. We have to make this relatable. It says a lot about how our communities, how I can play an active part
Exactly.
in shaping another person's life.
Like you see, I mentioned this thing earlier, like what I think of myself.
Yeah.
I mean, why I'm sitting with you. I mean, everything is for me, it's by purpose. It is like thing which is being, set up for us. I mean, somewhere behind in the divine will, like we all human drive by some forces.
Yeah.
Some intellectual and some spiritual and some material forces. So being part of this conversation is, for me, it's a privilege. Like I get a chance to, say my words. As I said, like, I mean, being the follower of Muhammad, peace be upon him, this is my responsibility. And this is my duty, like to, spread this message, to bring this thing to the common man, the common person in the society, and make them relatable. Not just in a way like, okay, how I am like being a Muslim. No, how I am being like a human being. So these are the things which are quite significant. And now we see this thing is on the peak in the relationship of Prophet, peace be upon him, and Khadijah.
Yeah. Here's a question for you. Would you say this event here marks, what can I call, maybe the beginning of the age of enlightenment?
Somehow, yeah. It was in the term of the Muslim scholarly. Yes, that was the breaking point.
Okay.
I mean, that was the point, like we can say a hit on a rock. Like, I mean, you are basically telling people no, what you are doing. I mean, what we have discussed, the age of ignorance, okay, that was a social contract. But being a society, the tribal and whatsoever it was, they were quite strong people.
Yeah.
They were not just, a piece of paper. Like, no, they were the strong, they are powerful elite of that society. And you are basically now telling them, I mean, this point basically marked the start of the message. So now what happened after this, I mean, first endorsements was Khadijah took Muhammad, peace be upon him, to his uncle, Warqa bin Nawfal.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a Christian. And he was like the man of a book and the belief and the monotheistic belief. And so he endorses it like, these are the signs which are being, said in the Old Testaments. So now I'm relating this thing, and this guy will make a difference. And this is the one about the Jibrail.
Yeah.
Warqa bin Nawfal says, like, this is the one who came to the Prophet before. And this is now the things are different.
Yeah. So he's endorsing Muhammad's, peace be upon him, his experience.
Yeah. And his experience, his knowledge.
Yeah.
And like he says, like, okay, this is not the thing which has just happened. This is the thing which happened by purpose. And now from this point, Muhammad started preaching, like, interacting with the close friends and the family. But as the
How about Abu Talib?
Well, Abu Talib was a protector.
Yeah.
He was.
Did he accept the message immediately?
No, he didn't accept message.
Okay.
He didn't accept message in his life.
Yeah.
So eventually he passed away. but he didn't accept the message.
But he still protected him, isn't he?
He was the one who was protecting him, letting him preach, making, the facilitation for him. Maybe not accepting the message of Abu Talib could make, as we can relate back again, the things of the faith.
Yeah.
We can say maybe that was the divine will, that was the will of Allah to keep Abu Talib in that condition and protect Muhammad, peace be upon him. Because if Abu Talib declare a war, it means then there is a war.
Yeah.
If Abu Talib says okay, now do or die, you guys have to accept it or reject it, then there is a war. And there is no chance of breathing at all. Because in the beginning, you were just one, then two, then like a couple, like a dozen of. So that was just an effort of Abu Talib to keep Muhammad, peace be upon him, in a safe place. And
because the Quraysh really didn't like his message, did they now?
They didn't like. They were quite furious. And at this point, as I said, Muhammad, peace be upon him, started losing his loved one. They all were against him now.
Yeah.
If you see Abu Sufyan, the other guys, they were like the powerful elite of Mecca. And they were from the same tribe. But now they all are, opposite of Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Yeah.
So at some point, even, the Abu Talib was sort of a mediator sometime, The Quraysh says, okay, tell him to do like this. We will be, giving him like this, blah, blah. And at one point, they offered okay, we can give him whatever he wants. We can give him wealth, whoever the lady he wants to marry, whatever he wants, we can give him, but tell him to stop this preaching and do not, say us to stop this adultery or this stuff. Don't interfere in our, affairs of life. So that time, Muhammad, peace upon him, said, tell them, if they can put sun on my one hand and, moon on my other hand, but I will not accept what they are saying. I will go with this thing. So that was the resolve. Now, when we say Muhammad, peace upon him, was a man of intellect, man of character, man of will and resolve. So that is the thing which now, as I said, the 40 years were to build your personality, build your trust. Now, at this point, it is quite significant. At some point, Muhammad, peace be upon him, said to the Quraysh, standing on a mountain, if I say, on the other side of the mountain, there is a big army which going to invade you, do you believe me? They said, certainly yes. You are Amin. You are Sadiq. Sadiq is the truthful. Amin is the, as I said, the custodian of the precious goods and So this is the way the character was being built. Your enemies, the one who is maybe, wanted to finish you. Wanted to finish your message and everything. But they still believe you are the one who were speaking the truth.
So is it fair to then say that the greater majority of the early converts were not from the rich and wealthy, but were from the lower classes?
That is a significant point because, in the beginning, it was when people, started listening. And they see okay, this thing is bringing, a justice, this thing is which bringing, because the principle of Islam, if we see, we will discuss this thing later. They said you have no any of high ranking or the things based on the color, based on your clan, your tribe, your wealth, whatsoever it is. But the thing which is make you different is your God fearance and the piety. That is sort of a basic principle of Islam when we say the equality of humankind.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine the Quraysh didn't like that part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Certainly they didn't.
Yeah.
Certainly they didn't. And then at this point you see like how things, started getting hard for, Eventually it was a God will, I believe, because here again, now the spiritual context is important. I mean, at that time, Muhammad, peace be upon him, was basically surviving a situation.
Yeah.
Delivering a message, if, talk to the 10%, maybe one is accepting and 9 is against. And then the against, they are strong people. They are not like,
the ruling classes.
Exactly. They are the ruling class. So in a practical sense, this thing comes more closer to me when I rationalize this thing. I really want to relate with this thing. Then I realize, oh, wow, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you need this character. If you really want to excel, if you really want to put in your efforts, if you really want to make a difference, it's not easy.
No, it's not. I know, from, history that around that time, there were some of the people in the lower classes who migrated to places in Africa.
That is the thing coming up. And then, there was, So now there was the one, when the persecution was like, in a way like, okay, now things are getting hard. So at the first place, Muhammad, peace be upon him, sent a delegation to Abyssinia. That is currently, I guess, no, it's not.
Somalia, I think. No?
Somalia? No, not
Is it
Somalia.
somewhere there?
Yeah, but
Mr. Director. Ethiopia.
Ethiopia.
Yeah.
So the king was called named Najashi. So he was the guy where the first delegation was sent by Muhammad, peace be upon him, and that was a Christian sort of kingdom or like So.
Yeah, the Quraysh didn't like that.
So they
requested them to be sent back.
Yeah, exactly. But at that time, Najashi, when heard the verses from Quran about Jesus, peace be upon him. So then he said like, okay, now if I have to fight, I will fight. I'll not send them back. So that was like sort of the first migration happened, and again, it was sort of a significant event because that related, this new message with interfaith sort of thing. And that time, it was acceptable for that king.
Yeah.
He realized
I want to step in there, Imran, and point that out because this is something that is huge on this podcast and the MSC project. This is a huge thing to this movement where we're saying, I mean, look at this situation. You have this king who is basically Christian.
Yeah.
And he hears this message and he sees our shared common humanity and he says, no, I'm not sending these people back. And if I have to fight to defend them, I will fight.
Exactly. Because as I said, like, the monotheistic relation and the Abrahamic connection is very significant.
It is.
I mean, that is the thing which is keep us under the one umbrella, actually.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, with the little difference of the things, which is actually a huge, but okay.
Yeah.
But again.
Yeah, but we can still live at peace with each other and respect each other.
But like being a Muslim, I mean, if we talk about the code of operation, I mean, being a Muslim can marry a Christian woman without even, conversion. If convert, it's excellent. Yeah. Otherwise,
it's okay to marry a Christian.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That is interesting.
Yeah, but that it is. These are the things which, are relatable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just sending it, in the way, okay, we are just cut off. No. As I said,
all together.
So if relate back to that time, it means that king was much aware about the rationality and the reality, and he accepted this thing like, okay, I'm going to take care of this.
Let's take a few steps forward. So Abu Talib, who is basically protecting Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his followers, what's the technical term? The ummah. Some of the people there are suffering so much, but then Abu Talib dies.
Yeah, that's what I'm coming to.
Okay, and then that protection is gone. Now, let's move this story now. What happens at that time now? Abu Talib has died.
Even before this, there was a boycott, which we call a siege of Shabi Abi Talib.
Okay.
That was the siege of Banu Hashim. It was like they have break all the the relationship ties, the business ties, all the things which they basically
so they ostracized.
Exactly. Ostracized, this clan to push them to the limits.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can, and that was again a significant thing which was quite painful, for Muhammad, peace be upon him. You see, like the person who has grown in that way, and he is actually trying to make things a little bit improved, but he is being pushed back to that extent. So then again, we can see what the resolve and what the courage he actually has.
Yeah.
So at that time, so then after that, there were two things happen in the past, the death of Khadijah and the death of Abu Talib.
Yeah.
So Muhammad, peace be upon him, called this year like the year of sorrow, Amal Hazan. So he was so into the, deep pain and...
these are two important people in his life, his wife and his uncle.
Exactly. And the wife is a companion in the way, every aspect she spotted. And then the Abu Talib, you can say, shield.
A shield, yeah.
A shield. That was, being a wall between the wrath of Quraysh and the message of Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Yeah.
So he was very strong, we would say, in a way, protecting this and making Muhammad, peace be upon him, in the way to move forward with the message. So at this time, there was the city which called Yathrib.
Yathrib, yeah. Okay.
Lately, we call it Medina.
Yeah.
Before it was Yathrib.
Yathrib, yeah.
There was a communication between some tribes from Medina. Said okay, we can help, and they need actually their own sort of the political stability, and there are some tribes along. They have their own disputes, and this said okay, now because at this point in time, Muhammad, peace be upon him, was sort of a different force, which was a totally different message, but they were, quite angry. They put their what we call some sort of the street boys behind him and throwing stone on him, and his body was bleeding. And at that time, Allah sent Jibreel to Muhammad, peace be upon him, and said if you allow me, I can crush them in between the mountains. But Muhammad, peace be upon him, said no, I believe their generation will follow the path. And that we can see again the patience. I mean, to succeed, to stay relatable, I mean, you have to be patient. And that is...
you could say that again. Yeah.
I mean, that is a key of, success.
Could you also just, for a minute or two, talk about the significance of the relationship between Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and Ali?
Ali is basically the son of Abu Talib.
Abu Talib, yeah.
First cousin of Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Yes.
And he was among the youngsters.
Yeah.
He was the one to believe Muhammad, peace be upon
Yeah.
him.
So he's seeing all of this happening also.
He is seeing
That's
all
the
this
point
happening.
I'm trying to bring out here.
Yeah. He was the son-in-law of Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Married his daughter.
Yeah, Fatima. And then lately, what we see in the history, that is again the son of Ali, like Hassan and Hussein, radiallahu anha, they were, being persecuted, and how that whole thing happened in the history that basically shaped the society of Islam.
Yeah.
How they lately divided into the two major sects.
Yeah, the Sunnis and the Shia.
And the third thing is the knowledge. I mean, Ali was such a knowledgeable and articulated, person. I mean, he has abundance of knowledge, and as at some points Muhammad peace be upon him said, like, if I am like ocean or ocean of knowledge, like, then Ali is a door to me. So I mean, at that time Ali was the one who was sleeping on the bed of Muhammad peace be upon him. That night they were about to execute the killing plan.
Yeah.
And at that time Muhammad peace be upon him with Abu Bakr was in Ghar Saur, in Saur cave, the cave of Thor. These are the things which we can relate with the Ali, is like, the companionship, the knowledge, courage, and the bravery.
People in Medina are having these conversations with Muhammad, peace be upon him, and he gets to a point where he accepts their offer, and he's the hijrah. Why I keep coming to that, Imran, because it is such a significant event, because even how we, in the Islamic world, how we refer to time, it changes.
Yeah. I mean, if we say, like, the hijrah is the point which marked the Islamic calendar. And when Muhammad started journey from, Mecca to Medina, that is the point where the Islamic calendar started. What is the background? It was like the persecution. It was on the height, and everything was like, now it's out of control. So at that point, then invitations from Medina, they were looking for, a person to, take it and make them like, united and this.
Yeah.
So at that time, then Muhammad peace be upon him decided to,
to take up the offer.
Take up the offer and move to Medina.
Yeah.
And at this time, he, moved with close companions. In the beginning, like Abu Bakr and Muhammad was traveling together. At this point, we can see the significance of, like, how the Abu Bakr played his role. I mean, he was a closest friend of, we can say, Muhammad. And again, like, he was the father-in-law, because Muhammad also married, to the Aisha. I mean, so she's
a significant figure also, Aisha.
She was the daughter of Abu Bakr. And lately we see, like, she was quite knowledgeable, and she was quite young. So at that time, bringing her into the circle, it was like, okay, the one who can carries the knowledge. So now if we see after Muhammad peace be upon him, most of the narrations of the ahadith that is coming from Aisha and the other narrators. But Aisha was like we would say, like, school, sort of a institution. So that, but we can say here the significance of the relation between Abu Bakr and Muhammad peace be upon him was great. The migration process is coming, and then eventually, I mean, they make it. They successfully escape that murder attempt and everything which was planned, but they escape.
So they find refuge in
Medina. So when they entered Medina, like, it was, Muhammad peace be upon him was on a she-camel, like, so, and then, the first thing they do, they look for a place where they can build a mosque. today we see like this, the big mosque, the Masjid al-Nabawi, like what we call the Mosque of Prophet, the Prophet Mosque in Medina. So that was the sort of the first mosque of Islam being,
Interesting, yeah.
being constructed,
Yeah.
and that property basically belonged to some of the orphan guys, and I don't remember the name, or like I don't know the details much, but like that was being bought and paid by, I think if I'm not wrong, Abu Ansari. He was the one who basically taken care of the things in the beginning, and his house was the place where Muhammad peace be upon him stayed in the beginning.
They seem to paint who the Prophet Muhammad was, peace be upon him, the constitution of Medina.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing which happened, like, there was a contract between what we call Muhajirin and Ansar. Muhajirin are the one who basically migrated from Mecca and they came to Medina. And Ansar was the one who was the residents of Medina. So the first thing which happened, it called Mawakhat Medina. That was a territory, that was a treaty which was being, commanded, like, okay, now the one Ansar can take care of the one Muhajirin. And then they shared their wealth, their land, their resources. So they try to, mix them up. So
is it fair to say the constitution instituted a form of, not a form of, maybe a system of religious pluralism where it allowed people of different backgrounds to exist together in one space?
Yeah, that is the one, when we say the concept of ummah. The ummah is a concept of community, like how basically Muslims behave like a community, behave like a one entity. So that was the first thing which was being established in Medina. As I said, like Mawakhat Medina was the thing which was making them a relationship.
Yeah.
As a single community, the constitution was being, designed and said like, and the primary thing which was the part of, this thing was the justice. If you can bring justice to the society, then it means you can achieve anything.
Yeah.
So that was the first and the foremost primary thing, which was like, okay, no different rule for the powerful elite. Everybody is equal in the eyes of. And then we see like, some incident happened, like there was a one woman from like sort of a powerful tribe. She did like some sort of a theft crime or like this. And at that time they requested, or they, send it like, okay, if you can send a soft corner. So then at that point, Muhammad peace be upon him said like, if my daughter Fatima will do this, so she will go with the same punishment.
Yeah.
And the punishment was like, okay, to cut the hand. So that is the thing which were basically dominating and setting up, a tradition of justice and tradition of like making, things for everyone meaningful. It is not just, the powerful elite is enjoying the extra privileges. No.
Yeah. One of the events that seemed to be significant at that time that people get stuck on, which I think, and I'll share this and get your reaction to it also. The Constitution of Medina puts these events into a very different light. It is what happened with some of the Jewish tribes there. The Constitution, for example, there was a part in there that in the event of an external enemy attack, all will fight the enemy together and neither party will harm the other party.
There was a contract between the two famous tribes like Aus and Khazraj. They were like, the neighborhood, or they were like around the Medina. So the first thing, but like to connect this thing, basically Jewish, if we say they don't believe in Muhammad, peace be upon him, as a prophet. Okay, so but if you see the narrations, they were not believing him as a prophet, but they said like he is the best arbitrator.
Yeah.
So that was again the integrity, the basically the character of Muhammad, peace be upon him. Okay, religiously you don't believe, but you believe him like, okay, he is a good leader. He is the one who can take things to the right way.
Yeah.
So, but like the significant point of that was a social justice and the welfare state. I mean, you have established a financial system. You have established sort of the conflict resolution, like a court system. It was not like just only the tribal council is deciding. No, there was a shura.
When you hear people like to strip events from their context in history, and people say, oh no, Muhammad, peace be upon him, came to Medina and he had conflict with the Jews. But no, I feel like take a step back and look at the entire event, because one of the last things we'll need to talk about is some of the battles that he got involved in. Like if you take a step back and then you realize that no, actually there was a legal system that was put into place. There were all these things that were into place, and this is not like, I mean, this is coming from I don't. I don't recognize officially as Muslim, but I consider myself as a very spiritual being. Okay, so I look at these things. I look at the Constitution of Medina. I look at all of this, and I'm like, you know what? There was something valuable happening here.
Now you see this thing is basically unique in context of Islam. I mean, if we see for the even in the past religions and the Old Testaments and the things were being communicated in a way like, okay, you can take it or leave it, or you can but the system was not designed. So this is the success of the advent of Islam, I would say, and the ultimate success of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Like he was able to build a real society, a real human society based on the principles.
Yeah.
So this is I would say the biggest a landmark achievement. Like I mean, if we see anybody around intellectually enabled, they will never ever deny this establishment of the society of Medina and the constitution. Because if we see today the modern world and we compare this with the welfare structure of Medina, with the pluralism, with the inclusive society, with being what was the importance of education, what was the importance of social contract. I mean, that was far more better in the way at that time, how actually it was being executed.
Interesting. Yeah. So Imran, 2 years after the Hijrah, the Meccans are still in the background here, and the Battle of Badr. The Meccans come, I think history says, what was it, an army of 900 and something, 950,
around 1,000 roughly.
Roughly 1,000.
We say like roughly 1,000 and the Muslim were like 313.
Like 300.
313,
okay.
To be exact. So that's what we know with the context of history. So, but like, again, as Muhammad peace be upon him was successful to make it, Medina, and then they see like, oh wow, now he is flourishing over there. He had made a society. He created, a consensus among the neighbors, and there is no such, we would say, opposition. So at that time, Quraysh was not in we would say, in a peace. They said like, no, we have to, destabilize this thing. So at that time, something was staged like, okay, that caravan was being looted, or, something was such created, and they made an excuse.
To attack.
To attack.
Yeah.
So at that time, then, the parties being met at the point of Badr, which is like sort of west of Medina, and but it is quite far from Mecca. But they made it to that point, and there this fight was happen. That but the key personnel again, like there was a one big name, Abu Jahl. I mean, I don't remember his full name, but like Abu Jahl was the one who was being murdered, like I mean in that from the Quraysh side, and the Quraysh had a big loss. But that was the thing again, being believed, like there was a divine intervention, there was a divine will with
because the numbers were against them.
Yeah, it was quite outnumbered. Like we could say, like 313 and 1,000, and you have to fight face by face. It is not like you are throwing stones, or you are fighting with sort of a
no AI.
No AI, or like there is no we would say like
the face-to-face
the
combat.
G13s, or the MK Ultra 7. So no, it was not like this. It was like just you have to fight face by face, and Muslim were like quite first like outnumbered, and resources were not that much enough. I mean,
I know like was it a year after that that the Meccans came back with a bigger army, like 3,000 or something like that.
And then this was like a big victory. It was because I guess like a part of anything that was a big emotional backup sort of thing for the Muslim. Their sentiments were high. They were more focused. They were like in a high spirit after this victory. But again, like as you said, like the 1 year or a little this time again they invaded, and that was the Ghazwa Uhud. It was happened beside the mountain of Uhud. So here, like there was a strategic, you can say, failure happen on the Muslim ends. Though they were in the
but that battle was undecisive.
Exactly.
So
that was,
we can't say anyone won it.
No, but like no, I mean certainly if we say like Muslim lose the battle at that time, because they have a huge loss of what we say the person.
Imran, would you say they lost it when the Meccans couldn't crush them still?
No, that was not the loss in that sense, but the loss in the sense, it was a strategic loss.
Okay.
The strategic loss in the sense, because the one who did not follow the command, they basically made this battle loss. Because if you interpret the strategic plan of this war, there was like a group of the Arab what we call like archers, so they were placed in the one place which was in a way like, okay, if the army can invade from this place, you can hit them, you can take them on. But unluckily, when at the first place, I mean the Quraysh army was defeated, they just ran away. But and then what happened? Those archers actually left the place. They didn't took the command, as they just violated. And at that time, they attacked back, and there was nobody, and the huge loss happened.
The Prophet was hurt in that.
Prophet was hurt as well. And but I mean, luckily everything was okay lately. But that was a big setback again. In the sense, as I said, like when you are growing, you are making things, better. You are trying to be in a position to, But then eventually this thing happened. So
How about very quickly here now the battle of the trench.
Yeah, that is again a significant battle, and that battle was basically fought in quite unconventional way.
Yeah.
At that time, this was the suggestion of Salman Farsi. Salman Farsi was again a person who basically drove like from Iran to Arabia.
Yes.
And when he heard like, okay, there is a prophet, and he was like, left this all his luxuries of life and go to Medina and join, so that he was the guy who basically suggested, okay, we can make a trench.
Yeah,
we can
right, right
trench.
around Medina.
Around Medina.
Yeah.
So that was the thing which basically saved this, the whole thing. There was a siege. It happens like for for a long time. So
yeah, I think it's about 27, if not 28 days.
Yeah, I mean, it was around a month.
Yeah.
So at that time, like maybe a couple of people, tried to cross the trench, and they were, being killed by. One was like being, killed by Ali at that time, and then other.
Yeah,
so
the Quraysh brought an army, I think again, that was about 10,000
around
strong.
10,000, yeah. They were like, they were about to crush the Medina. But then, as I said, like this unconventional tactic, basically, that really helped Muslim to save Medina that time.
Yeah.
And that was again a decisive movement, I mean. So as soon this thing happened, and then, suddenly one night there was a rain and sort of what we call a wind, strong wind side. And then they just dismantled them and they left their camp and go back.
Was there a treaty that was signed after that made it possible now?
Yeah. So now, I mean, the Quraysh realizes like, okay, something is, not in control. So they were fighting, back and forth. So at this point, they think like, okay, we should. But that was, after this, Muhammad peace be upon him planned to visit Mecca for what we call like sort of a small pilgrim, the Umrah. That was the first thing which they wanted to perform and do. So when they were approaching Mecca, so they were basically stopped. So they were not allowed to enter Mecca that time. So at that time, the Treaty of Hudaybiyyah, what we call, that happens.
Yeah.
Eventually, that treaty was not in favor of Muslim at any, at any point in the sense, if you see the point of that treaty, it was like, okay, you should go back. You cannot enter Mecca this year. You have to come next year.
Okay.
Then they said like, okay, if anybody from Mecca go to Medina and try to be Muslim or like this, you should have to return them. And if anybody comes, but the good thing was that like for the 10 years, there will be no war. And then
about 10 years.
Yeah, about 10 years, there will be no war. And then the tribes alongside, they are free to join either, Quraysh or either Islam, Muhammad, peace be upon him. So that was the things which are eventually, give a strategic benefit. That was a highly intellectual decision of Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Yeah.
Though companion was not happy, they took them like what we call their swords out of, their covers. Like, but they said like, no, we are not going to put him inside, their cover. Like, we will fight, we will die. Or then Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, tell them, no, let's have a look.
Yeah.
You will not regret this. So, and then, so then eventually, after this treaty, we see the revelation of Surah Al-Fatah. And that is sort of a reassurance and sort of, telling Muhammad, peace be upon him, now you are victorious and the time is near.
Yeah.
You will win this.
The time being the conquest of.
I guess the conquest of Mecca is a broader one.
Yeah.
So we can.
So I think let's stop it here for today. Because like you say, these battles are so significant. The Prophet's time in Medina is so significant, and the next phase that we're going to go to, I encourage you to join us again for this conversation. Subscribe. You know, it helps us to keep these conversations happening where we can talk about, you know, and understand, not only talk, get to understand each other's religious backgrounds and faith and so on. So I encourage you to subscribe. Imran, thank you. Let's do this again one more time.
Thank you.